Hello and welcome to another episode of Focus on Outcomes. Candice, how are you today?
Good. Yourself?
Great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
We're excited to get 2026 started off. Happy to welcome Celestino Ruffini, Chief Executive Officer of Visit Beloit. Celestino, thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year. I am so glad to be the first podcast of the year. I mean, what better way to kick off 2026? Me, cybersecurity, IT, nonprofit management, and a super cool name.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it.
We're excited to hear more about all of those things. So maybe you could get started by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background.
I'm Celestino Ruffini, and I am all things travel and tourism in Beloit, Wisconsin. I'm originally from Decatur, Illinois, so not born and raised in Wisconsin, unlike my wife, who is a proud Wisconsinite through and through. But I've been here 11 years now, and I absolutely adore and love this state. I, as I said, have been in travel and tourism my entire career. I started at a children's museum. That was my first gig, and an absolute ball to be paid to play with kids and build exhibits and manage a gift shop and all the cool things you can do. A lot of hands-on interactive opportunities. And while I was working in an attraction within the tourism industry, my passion really lied within meteorology. And so at the same time, I was doing an internship with the National Weather Service and making a decision on where to go for college. So long story short, I ended up at Purdue University and majoring in meteorology. But I get off to college, and the first thing I do is get a job at another attraction. I worked for the Tippecanoe County Historical Association, and I managed a museum at the Battle of Tippecanoe battlefield. And loved it, absolutely adored it. Realized maybe meteorology was becoming more of a hobby, not a passion. After my freshman year, I did an internship thinking maybe broadcast meteorology would be the route. So I did an internship at a TV station in Springfield, Illinois. Loved broadcasting, but I was like, it's a little too cutthroat for me, and went back to school. Unfortunately, Purdue has one of the top, at the time, the top, and still the top tourism management program in the country. And so made a switch and ended up getting my bachelor's and master's from Purdue in hospitality and tourism management. After my time at the battlefield, I went on to work in both quick service and fine dining restaurants, then to a Hilton Garden Inn and managed that property for a few years. Then after college, worked on a local referendum campaign in my hometown, did some marketing work for a small contracting company, but wanted to work after working in attractions and restaurants and lodging. I'd worked within all the verticals that a destination marketing organization supports. And that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in a community that I could sort of help shape what the future of it looked like. And so I ended up in Galena, Illinois, and was responsible for group sales there, bringing meetings and sporting events and motor coach groups to the community and to the destination. And while Galena was the crown jewel, I had 10 communities. I represented all of Joe Davis County. Absolutely loved my time there. Not long after being there, I took on leisure marketing, so I sort of expanded my work within a tourism entity and a destination. And after being there 7 years, was looking for my next opportunity and really wanted to be in a more management and administrative role, shaping the vision of a destination. And that's when the job in Beloit, Wisconsin was open at Visit Beloit. And so in 2015, I moved to Beloit, a community that I had really not much experience with, hadn't spent a lot of time there, but I saw the writing was on the wall of the direction it was going in, especially the use of the travel and tourism industry and sort of what we could do to support the next chapter of development in the community. And so it has been a quick 11 years at the helm of the organization. I have an amazing team, a great board, great stakeholders throughout the community. As a tourism entity, our job is to support the tourism-related businesses of the region. We represent 4 communities, and of that, we have more than 550 tourism-related businesses. So those are attractions, restaurants, service providers, meeting venues. The any business that has a physical place, has regular hours of operation, and has a product or service available for sale to visitors, that's what we're promoting. And it's been a great ride. I thoroughly enjoy the work and sort of setting the pace of the organization. I'm a details person. I like visioning. I like big projects. I don't really get in the way of the day-to-day for my team. And so that has sort of been the first 10 years. And now, I've been a little retrospectively thinking about what the last 10 years has meant to me and sort of what the next 10 years will look like. But travel and tourism has come a long way in our community. And Beloit as a city and a region has come a long way in the last 30 years.
Yeah, a town that has kind of almost reinvented itself in the last period of time. You'd know better than I, but I think it's definitely on the rebound or on the uptick.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's a community that maybe 40 years or so ago, I would have probably questioned more about my decision to move there and relocate my family there. But it was really in the 90s where many business leaders came together and said, ultimately, if we don't physically invest our own money out of our own pockets into this community, into redevelopment efforts of this community, there's no one else that's going to come to save us. And Beloit, like many communities, was on the path of being a Rust Belt community, like there are many throughout the Midwest. And so dozens came together in the late 80s, early 90s to begin that process. And honestly, that process still exists today. There's a very nuanced approach to development work within our community, much more than what I will dive into within this podcast. But there are business leaders and individuals in the community that are still putting in their own money into projects in the community. There's about 36 individuals like myself that are sort of shepherding the projects in the community and sort of doing the dirty work behind the scenes and planning. And that brings together public-private partnership at its best. And that process, as I said, of which started more than 30 years ago, still exists today and still keeps our community churning down the right path and sort of setting the stage for what is to come.
Challenging and rewarding things to be involved in, I'm sure.
It's I don't lose a lot of sleep over things that aren't in my control. But the challenging part within not only my work, but probably the work of many in the nonprofit world is that so much of what we're doing today is planning for things that aren't going to happen for a long time. And it's really tough, especially within our tourism-related businesses, to hear about a business that is looking at building or moving to our area, but they may not be doing that for 2 years or 3 years. And so it's a long time to hold on to that knowledge and excitement and sort of keep it under wraps, but know that there's big things on the horizon. And I'm a true believer in cathedral thinking of what we're doing today. We need to think about how the next generation, our children, will be prepared to have the resources to replenish what we're doing today. I mean, this is a mindset that goes way back to the old cathedrals of Europe. When they built those cathedrals, many at the same time were planting the forests, of which hundreds of years later, when they needed new, lumber to rebuild or fix things within the cathedrals, the forests were ready. The trees were ready to be of the age they needed to be to fix those cathedrals. So, so much of our work at least within tourism entities, is we're building communities. We're building stronger communities through visitation, but we're doing that to make better destinations for people to live in. Because ultimately, if people don't live or believe or want to enjoy the community they're in, why would someone from outside come and do the same? So while our work is very focused on growing visitation to the area, it's just as much important that we focus on the needs and wants of the residents that live there, because ultimately they're the consumer first. Although my budget comes from visitors. So residents are important. I'm a resident too, so I want to be happy as well. But within the tourism entity space, visitors are paramount to our success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so then I imagine too, when you're putting in all of this time to execute on those projects, the reward of completion must just be extra sweet. I don't know, I'm just seeing you get so energized when you talk about this industry and what you're able to bring to the community. It's exciting to be around and hear
Absolutely
what that feels like.
So much what we do, so much planning,
Right.
and many industries and many organizations do that. But along with planning, the one thing we have to dabble in within the tourism space is advocacy. Just a little bit on funding. As a tourism entity here in Wisconsin, we are predominantly funded by room tax collections, hotel tax collections. So going back to the visitor economy, if visitors, we love people visiting Beloit for the day to come for a Sky Carp game or to go out to eat or whatever it may be. Ultimately, though, someone coming for the day isn't paying the bills. They're not paying my salary. They're not paying for us to be able to advertise. We're getting, our organization receives nothing from that. If you stay overnight in Beloit, there's an 8% local tax plus 5.5% county and state sales tax. Of that 8%, 80% is passed through back to our organization, which funds our work. So state law in the state of Wisconsin, 70% at least has to be passed through. So in the city of Beloit, we have a great agreement with them that allows for 80%. So that money, visitors make an impact daily by staying in our local lodging properties, of which we have 690 rooms currently in the city of Beloit. As I said, we represent 4 different communities, and there's other lodging properties, including short-term rentals in the area. But that money all goes towards planning and advocacy, and why we have to advocate for our work is because of my budget. More than 3/4 comes from room tax collections, and I don't have a diversified stream of revenue coming into my organization. So we're fiercely defending the use of room tax and what room tax is for in our community.
Okay, I feel like this background on funding is a really great segue into one of the questions about what are some of the goals for Visit Beloit come 2026? If you get that funding goal, what are you kind of planning on executing this year?
What's exciting, just talking about being here at the beginning of 2026, I watch lodging data in our community almost on a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis. Just this morning, I got the last data for the end of 2025, and we had a record fourth quarter. Revenue was up 16%. That's a mix of occupancy of our hotels being stronger, as well as the average daily rates, or we call that ADR in our world, the ADR being up. So fourth quarter is a banner year. Or a banner quarter. So looking at the year, we were up about 5% or so in revenue, higher than what we had anticipated for 2025. That revenue, even if we just did exactly the same in 2026, we would already eclipse what I had budgeted for this year. So it is a revenue, obviously, in anyone's budget. Revenue drives a lot and drives sort of the goals and the growth of the organization. Talking about diversification of revenue, so we're one of the top goals in our community, but along with many tourism entities around the state, there is legislation likely being proposed this year to introduce a new stream of revenue that is sort of it's a new assessment that hotels can implement in their communities to provide additional revenue to organizations like ourselves. Lodging properties would have a greater say in how that money is spent and utilized in their destination. But that type of legislation exists in most states now across the country. Wisconsin's a bit behind the 8 ball on it. But that would be a big game changer that could potentially change our budget anywhere from 25 to 30% increase, and likely not coming in 26, but everything's in the works for that to happen in 26 to maybe start in 27. Visit Beloit was sort of a litmus test. We tried implementing it via home rule years ago. and we were unsuccessful. We see state enabling legislation as sort of the better route to go. So diversification of revenue is a top priority. We have some growth in our own team. So we have things happening in our destination, which I'll touch on in a bit. But we're adding staff and capacity and adding more services to the work that we do. Our main focuses, or my team is focused on marketing, on sales, communications, and visitor services. So with the development of a few projects, which I'll touch on in the community, we are looking at adding on the sales side in order to grow, especially the ability to bring meetings and conventions to our community. And as well, we'll be looking to add on the marketing side. We have a pretty lean team. I have 5 full-time staff. We have 12 part-time staff. We operate a welcome center on the interstate when you come into Wisconsin, and that's where my part-time staff work. It's the busiest welcome center in the state. We service about 80 to 90,000 people in there each year, and while they're not necessarily having growth, we're always hiring out there, always hiring new part-time individuals to work there. So we've got growth in our team, in our services. We're looking at growing geographically. So as I mentioned, we serve 4 communities, 2 in Wisconsin, 2 in Illinois. We're unique because we're only one of 2 destinations that have cross-state agreements in La Crosse. They service the community on the Minnesota side. Okay. They service La Crescent, Minnesota. And so we have, and I should say our friends in Kenosha do work a little bit across state lines too, but our growth has been really at the state line. We're looking at growing across southern Rock County. So we've got a few rural communities that could, that are growing, that could use our support to promote their tourism-related businesses. So that is a focus area to add a few new communities to the mix. And then some projects. So this year is America's 250th anniversary. So we've got about a dozen different events and activities happening in our community related to the 250th anniversary. Beloit's own 200th anniversary is just on the horizon in a few years. So this is sort of, I guess, a practice run for how that will work in a few years. We are also really proud to partner with our education institutions in the community. We have Beloit College in our community with about 1,000 students. We have a number of school districts in the area, and we have really started to offer more training, career opportunities, job shadowing, just being present in the classroom and talking to kids all the way down to the middle school level, because travel and tourism typically is the first place most young adults go to work at. They work in a restaurant of some type, or a water park, or a museum, maybe a children's museum like myself. And that first point of entry is natural for them, but they don't think about that as a career path. They don't think about that something they could stick with and really turn into something. So, you know, we've done a number of things. One of the big things recently was introduction of an associate's degree in hospitality management at our technical college, and a few other things I'll talk about a little bit later. So education's big. Probably the biggest project, the coolest project I'm looking forward to this year, may seem sort of run of the mill, but in the tourism world, and especially Wisconsin, it's a big deal. So every year we produce a visitor guide, like most destinations around the state. We've done that since our inception. Matter of fact, just received the newest one this week. So hot off the press. I should have brought a copy with me, but our destination's a little unique for I think pre-COVID. It's been within my time at Visit Beloit, but we are the only destination, or maybe one of only fewer than 2 or 3, but I think the only, that produces our visitor guide also entirely in Spanish. We have a huge population of individuals where Spanish is their first language in our community. And that is an audience that we have heavily tapped into, especially within the Chicago suburbs, of people who want to feel welcome in our community and know that if Spanish is your language of choice, we welcome you and we're glad to have you here. So we're, I think, the only destination in Wisconsin that produces a Spanish language visitor guide, and probably one of the few in the country that does that. But this year, we're taking it up a level. We've got a project that I'll talk about in a bit happening in our community. Ho-Chunk Nation is building the largest economic development project ever to happen in the city of Beloit. And Ho-Chunk Gaming Beloit is under construction. So this year, we have taken it up a new level, and we are in the process of working with a gentleman named Henning Garvin from the Ho-Chunk Nation. He's sort of a master linguist with the nation, and he's in the midst of translating our visitor guide into the Ho-Chunk language.
Wow.
I have never seen a visitor guide produced in a Native American language, and the Ho-Chunk people, Beloit was their ancestral home. We are on their land, and we are welcoming them back to our community in a big way with the project that they have under construction. But this visitor guide, this is just one simple, small gesture that we can give back to the people that call Beloit their home, or their ancestral home. And this production of a visitor guide in Ho-Chunk, admittedly, I will have to learn how to read. I do not know how to read the Ho-Chunk language, but this is just one small step we as an organization are taking to really appreciate their culture and appreciate and understand their people better. And so that's a project that I've dreamt a lot about, and I'm really looking forward to come to fruition. It will mirror and replicate our current existing guide, but it'll just be in a different language, and it'll be a fun piece to have. But I can't come to a levity and not talk IT. I mean, we got to talk IT goals, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as the head of a nonprofit, a lot of my colleagues and people in the nonprofit world, they don't talk IT. Like, it's a foreign language. It's something they're uncomfortable with. It's something they don't really want to deal with. I hate to say it, they don't want to spend money on it. And that's
Yes.
it is a fact. And it's tough, but it is a business critical decision. It's now with my board and my organization, our investment into the IT infrastructure we have is a no-brainer. It's a guaranteed part of our budget that we now, because of, shameless plug, because of Levity's services, we plan and forecast for. It's just a natural part of the work of our organization. So we have IT things that we talk about in our office that really stem from my conversations with the Levity team, throughout the year. So sort of, I created two buckets. One's the cybersecurity part of things, so I'll keep that for a second, but I'll start just with, I call it IT management. And ultimately, as I said, we're a small team, so I deal with all this. Like, this is my job, my responsibility. I don't have anyone else in the office that I deal with, but just a few things that I guess are they're ongoing goals. They're not necessarily goals for this year, but they're just things that are important to us. So in our organization, the safe recycling and disposal of assets is electronic assets is very important to us. I inherited an organization 11 years ago that had mounds and rooms of stuff, and it's not safe, it's not secure, and it was a headache that no one wanted to deal with. And so, it took a long time to get into a cadence of just, if we have things and they're no longer in use, we need to get rid of them. And so I worked with Levity a number of years ago to find a vendor here in the Madison area that works very well. And so that's just an ongoing thing that we're always disposing of equipment and things that we don't need on a timely basis. And speaking of recycling things, replacing systems. It pains me to see people in nonprofits that are limping along systems that are 10, 15, 20 years old, that boot up and it's a screen just full of errors and issues, and they just X out of them all and go, okay, I'll deal with that another day. And one wrong click of a mouse and they could lose everything. And I just think that, maybe for your organization or for another nonprofit, every 3 years isn't something you can do, or every 5 years you can't do, but you really have to consider the impact that your equipment, your IT infrastructure makes on your employees and on your team and on the security of your organization. So replacement of our systems and our equipment is always top of mind. Our data for years was backed up on, that large server sitting in the office. And it was a difficult decision for us to make to give up the server and to go to a cloud-based option because of QuickBooks. One program was was sort of the linchpin in the decision. And it took a lot for me to give up a program, a desktop version of a program that we had been using for 30 plus years to go to a cloud-based server. But now looking back, I should have never even fretted about that decision. While it was a lot to transfer our data and make the switch to QuickBooks Online, to go to a cloud-based server has allowed my team to work much more efficiently no matter where they're at. In the travel and tourism industry, we're always on the road. We're always going somewhere, and logging in via VPN was getting more and more challenging. And so going to a cloud-based option was a great decision. Email management is something that we're always watching as an organization. I feel this relates a little bit to cybersecurity. I feel that we're frankly always under attack. I feel every day that even though with Alevity services, I feel entirely covered and protected, I feel that nonprofits are easy pickings and people are always going to be coming after us. And so I'm always talking with my team about monitoring, understanding, thinking twice about every email that they receive. And I mentioned this earlier about the systems, but just ensuring that my team has what they need from an IT perspective to perform their job. My job as CEO of Visit Beloit is to ensure that my team operates at 100% efficiency. I don't want them to deal with downtime. I don't want them to have to deal with equipment that doesn't work properly. That's my job, to ensure that I have an infrastructure for them to get done what they need to get done. So from a management side, that's why I'm always thinking about cybersecurity is my fun one. And do you know why it's fun?
No.
Tell me.
It's fun because Alevity makes it fun. You make it enjoyable, and you make it enjoyable from a perspective that it gives us things to talk about as an organization. And once again, it's easy because I got a team of 5 that really get affected by this every day. But, we're in staff meetings, we're talking about our Mimecast reports that we receive. Like I'm sitting down talking about who's emailing who the most and who's got more inbound than the other. And we're talking about why that is, to understand from a business perspective the nuances and what's happening within our organization. And then sometimes I'll say, well, how come we were all working on a Saturday? I thought we were off. Shouldn't we have been doing something more enjoyable than emailing? But also those reports, why in my role you have to be cognizant of those reports, is because in a monthly review call just last month, I noticed in what would have been November, there was this major anomaly in the data. And it was that monthly review call where it's like, hey, what happened here? And what do we need to investigate that took place to ensure that nothing did happen? And I use the reports, not religiously, but I use them pretty frequently within the office. Our security training, security awareness training is something that we absolutely love and adore. We always look forward to our emails to see what video we got to watch this month. We do love human error as a character. My entire team said, "Well, you get to meet human error today." I said,
Oh, I love that.
Not on the podcast. No, I won't. But I'll ask, so they'll appreciate that I brought up human error. But we talk about those. We talk about why you got the answer right and why you got the answer wrong. And in a team, a multi-generational team, some of us get things better than others, and sometimes my older adults get things better than the younger ones because we all click on whatever, but those trains allow us to think twice, 3 times about the decisions we're making and how it could impact us as a business. And then lastly, just the reviewing of our own internal policies related to cybersecurity. You know, I use those policies to challenge my team. I've challenged Levity. I challenge our cybersecurity insurance policy provider. I challenge everyone to ensure that we're all working on the same page. And cybersecurity, I would say, as a topic, is the thing that it concerns me the most. Even though we invest heavily into it, even though I do all these things, at the end of the day, I don't want to deal with the flip side. I don't want to deal with the other side. And, you know, especially myself as the CEO of a nonprofit, I get a lot of people that I don't know why they all want to be me. They all want to email as me and act like me. It's not going to get them very far, but they think it will. And
with a name like Celestini, they just want to Celestino. They just want to be like you.
They want to be like me. And so I just think that nonprofits in general just really need to be cognizant of making a significant investment into their IT infrastructure and be talking about cybersecurity among the team. I think will be one of those things that in 10 years from now, my colleagues, my world, everyone will be talking about just as much. They're all talking about AI right now. AI is great, but this is fundamental.
Are we ready to switch to some unfocused?
I think we are.
All right. So our unfocused section, we'll ask some rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. You know, for the thousands of people that listen, we are still looking for a sponsor for this section. So if anyone has some great ideas.
You just keep telling yourself that?
I think I've listened to 1,000. So,
Yeah.
In the car all the time. So anyway, first thing that comes to mind. First question, do you prefer road trips or flights?
Road trips. I love flying, but road trips.
All right, follow-up question. What's your go-to snack on a road trip?
I am not a good food consumer in the car. That to me takes away my focus from, I'm 99% of the time driving. So I don't really do a lot of snacking or eating in the car, but I do like something to drink. So maybe I would say a liquid death, a nice bubbly water would be, that would be a nice go-to thing on a road trip.
All right. So what is one destination still on your bucket list?
Cavadago, Italy. That's where my great-grandfather's from, in the Northern Hills, about 30, 45 minutes south of the Swiss border. I've seen Italy from across the Adriatic Sea when I was in Slovenia. I could see sort of the coast over there, but Cavadago is where my great-grandfather's from, where my name is from. So foreign destination would be Cavadago. Domestic, because I am in travel, so I get a foreign and a domestic. My dream thing, my dream place isn't a place, it's a trip, and the trip is driving the perimeter of the United States. I've always dreamt about that since I was a kid. I would love to drive, and you can't drive there is no one road that does that, but I would love to drive the entire perimeter of the United States.
I love that. I feel like I always hear, you know, dreams about driving across or like going the whole perimeter. I like it.
What's your favorite hidden gem in Beloit?
My favorite hidden gem are the 19 Mexican restaurants we have in our community. You know, Beloit's only a city of 35,000 people. And as I mentioned, doing the whole visitor guide in Spanish, like that is many different Hispanic cultures call Beloit home. We have 19 Mexican restaurants, and some are true just hole in the wall places. Some are within grocery stores. Some have major storefronts. But when I travel, I always just want to go back home to have the Spanish and Mexican and Hispanic food in my community because we have the best in Beloit.
What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
I listen to a lot of music, predominantly country, but I almost always have music going. But really the biggest, I guess, surprise would be that I would really prefer to spend multiple days consecutively in silence. I could be in silence for 3, 4, 5 days, and not in a pod or nothing like that, but just in total silence.
Like in nature?
Sure.
What about like background noise or just complete?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Just me not speaking nor having anyone speaking to me.
Could you go 3 to 5 minutes?
No, you know the answer to that question.
So lastly, name one of your New Year's resolutions, if you have any.
I don't technically have any. I would say, though, that making family time, as I mentioned, I love road trips, family time, making that a priority. Work sometimes gets in the way. My wife would probably say it always gets in the way. But why family time is a priority is because this year I made a big decision right out of the gate. Like usually you sort of warm up into the big decisions of the year. No, not this year. 2026 is a little different. So while I'm the CEO of a nonprofit and I'm all about travel and tourism, my big decision to start the year, I am running for school board in my community. And so I'm running for elected office, and it's no guarantee. There's 5 of us running for 3 seats. But if I were to be elected, then family time will even be a bigger priority because the school board would consume a fair amount of time. So no matter what, whether I'm elected or not, family is a priority in 2026.
Great. Well, thank you for all of that. Really great conversation. Before we wrap things up, where can listeners find more information about Visit Beloit and anything going on down in South Central Wisconsin? Absolutely. So our website obviously is first and foremost visitbeloit.com. You can find us in downtown Beloit at 656 Pleasant Street. We have a really cool place to come check out. So I mentioned the Welcome Center at the rest area. Our office downtown, we purchased back in 2020. It's a building that was built as a church in 1914. We converted it into an events venue that I manage, and that's where our offices are at. Very cool. That's where we call home in downtown Beloit. And you can give me a call at 608-365-4838. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure having you on, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I loved it. Thanks.